just like we know how men have a dark side, like if they don't manage their urges with self-intimacy, and so they can have post-nut mental clarity, post-orgasm clarity, then they're going to end up being run by their desires and just not focusing on their dreams and goals and just doing whatever they can to get a woman to get them off, which is basically using their body to masturbate them. It's not really, it's not an intentional act to connect for life, to be attached to someone, to be married to them in the frequency of love, as opposed to lust. So, but we do need to consider that women have things that they do that they may not even be conscious of. Women operate more on a hive mind, so they kind of notice what each other are doing and all kind of follow each other along like a school of fish. And in that way they may get along better, but there's actually elements of where they secretly don't like that. They don't like that they're, and this is stuff that a lot of people aren't conscious of. So we're going into deep stuff here, stuff most people don't even want to talk about. A lot of guys are just hedonists, and all they're really into is just, how do I get the most attractive women to get off? That's really how a lot of people operate, men and women too, I imagine. Women, on the other hand, though, they, you hear about how they have this allure to the bad boy archetype. So what that means technically is that they like a guy who is willing to be a leader. And so, and they, even though they don't even say that, because in a way, women have, it's not really good to have an attitude of femininity and wanting to follow someone, because they haven't been able to follow their fathers. The culture we have, it makes it so women have to be masculine. They have to look out for themselves. They have to defend themselves, provide for themselves, try to avoid bad men. And the reality is the easy way to figure out how to avoid bad men is to, only pay attention to a guy who seems like he's, marriage material. He's an eligible bachelor man, and he is, asking about, he's like really straight to the point, like, hey, I'm looking for a wife. Wouldn't mind talking to you and your family, like involving the father, involving the family. What that is it showing a respect to other men. It's men respecting each other's fellow man. And this is again the dark side of man, where men will disrespect that, and they won't, they seduce each other's sisters and each other's daughters, and even each other's fucking future wives. Like, even the quote unquote alpha male or bad boy, whatever you want to categorize them, they're not able to access virgin women, because everyone's just all kind of, being intimate with each other. It's crazy, and it's irrational. And so, but women, it's hard for them to be rational because they have the emotional mind. Their mind is designed to caretake children, be cooperative, be loving, be communally minded, and they're more about people. They're less about like objects and functionality and logic. And so what ends up happening is they end up being seduced by these guys who may have an attractive body and may, have like the proverbial parrot with colored feathers. They allure women with their talking and everything, and being charming, but all this stuff about like women, the real reason you should feel bad or afraid to talk to women is because when this idea of talking to women, it basically means manipulating them. And so, but is that even if you're like an attractive guy, is that really, what you want? Do you want to be, interacting with somebody who you feel like you have to manipulate to to care about them, or whatever it might be. Okay, so the dark side of women, right? What do women do? What they do essentially is they don't really choose men based on like what they don't really ask what men want. What men want is, and this is because the culture has kind of neglected this whole process. And this isn't don't make this about like people wanting to have children. This is not what it's about. It's about what, even if you're not going to have children, you still want to be with somebody who you would be willing to raise a child with the same values of, because you share those values. And so the man has his values and he follows that. That's just like how they say that men follow God or their religion. Men should know what their own values and interests is, their own religion. And then men follow that, and then women follow the man who's following that. So the man is essentially leading himself with his own interests, and he's not like following the woman in the hopes that she'll maybe give him sex in exchange for what? In exchange for him not following his values, in exchange for him following her emotions and her indecisiveness. And what women do is they don't really take responsibility. Like all the conversations I have on the internet about and with women, it's probably in the 90th percentile, and it may be skewed. I know it's anecdotal, personal experience, but it might be biased based upon like factors like, maybe the people who I've associated with in my life, the women are, not the most logical. But the reality is most of them, and probably many men as well, they don't use logic, and they don't have real communication and debate skills, and they don't have values. They just follow hedonism. They follow pleasures. They're pleasure-seeking sheep who just don't think about the world. They just think about how do they make their life comfortable so they can get a woman and have sex with her. That's all it is. And until you make that conscious, and until you start masturbating, and so that you're managing your own desires as a man, until you consciously realize that there's maybe these urges. Like I don't have any urges to have more than one wife. Like I find many women attractive, but I'm not like promiscuously minded. I'm happy to only be with one woman, and I'm also happy if she maybe has a child and her vagina gets looser and she doesn't want to have sex anymore because it's uncomfortable. I'm still happy to give her oral sex. I love vulva and I love clitoris, and even when the vagina is loose, to me, like it looks attractive, like a flower. Okay, and so part of it is that it's this, it's this elevation of consciousness where people need to be thinking more about that. Like I was saying, all the conversations I have with women generally are like, they're not really willing to debate. They don't really think about what do men actually want. Like what do men actually want is they want a woman to follow them, and women should want that too. Women should women should want a guy who they look up to and see as a masculine man, and somebody that they would actually want to follow. But the problem is even men, like, what do you prefer? A woman who's had sex with other men, or would you prefer a virgin woman? Like, men can't even answer that honestly. And a lot of it's cognitive dissonance, just like how, and I don't mean to put down like non-vegans here. I'm trying to focus this in on, avoiding sex before marriage. But a lot of the, there's like all these narratives out there about how, well, some animals having eggs doesn't harm anyone. Like, that's not true. Like, the eggs, come from chickens who are suffering. And so And so just the same, when people say that, oh, well, it doesn't matter if people have premarital intimacy. It actually affects how especially men. Men think that, oh, it doesn't affect you at all. Like, with men, you can just have sex with as many women as you want, and when I say sex, I'm also talking about intimacy. Like, people can't people can't like have sex and then like are you having sex with someone can get attached? Like, it doesn't. And then thinking that you need to have sex in order to, determine if it's going to feel good. Like, people should be able to masturbate and, have the self-awareness to know these things, Okay, so. And you got to realize a woman's gonna get old, and you're gonna get old too. So or maybe not. Maybe people can have a longer lifespan. But you're gonna want to. It's a real question: is do you want to feel like you have commitment in your life? Like, do you want to have a life where you feel like, oh, you can always have this person, they'll always be there for you, Okay. Let me see here. Let me see here. Okay. And so, and we should want that. We should want to have true love in our life. And part of it is not wanting to, be with anyone else. It's better to be alone in the vibration of love, loving yourself, than to be with somebody that you do not have that you do not love. And another point is, like, no talking to women at all. Like, unless you're ready for marriage. Like, all this idea of, oh, let's go on a date, let's chat, let's, even if there's no sex, like, what's the point? Like, are you feeling badly that the woman seems lonely? Like, you're trying to, be this saving a woman. It's like, you've got to be not, that's one reason the bad boy, is good in a way. It's because it's like they're willing to say no, and they're not just wasting their time with any woman, and so we got to combine the wholesome elements of the bad boy. Ironically, there are some good positive elements of having boundaries, not just following women, because women need someone to follow, and this isn't like, I'm not saying that women don't have the mental ability to, be yeah, it's not that they don't have the ability to do things on their own, be it in the personal or professional worlds. It's just that women should get the freedom and enjoyment to be able to be a feminine woman and enjoy life, like, in that way. So that's my hope, that the dark side can be turned to light. So the question is, how do we do that? And I'm feeling hopeful, and I hope you're feeling the same way. And to broaden this out further, like, the big reality is, like, whether you're thinking about it in terms of, like, the economy, or what's the problems in the world. It's like, the truth is people shouldn't trust each other, and it's not racism. It's not, there may be some hints of that. It's not classism either. What it is everyone shouldn't trust each other, should not trust each other, because they're all having sex with each other's future wives and daughters and sisters, and so there's this kind of, like, what's the point? Not, like, it's not worth it being, a human. That kind of sentiment, and we don't want that. We want people to be feeling good about being human, but we got to revisit all this stuff and do the hard work and learn from our mistakes and talk about our mistakes. Just like I talked about how I experienced being in a prostitution type of situation when I was younger with predatory gay men, and it's my willingness, and it's equally going to be your willingness to whenever you can afford to. A lot of people can't even afford to talk about, like, oh, if they cheated on their ex-wife or whatever it is. Like, they can't afford the public public effect that it would have publicly or professionally for them, or, like, they can't talk about the time when they they're too embarrassed to talk about how they used to be maybe bad with finances or whatever it is. A lot of people will hide their challenges, and we gotta teach each other our challenges. That's how we make sure they don't happen again. That's our it's our obligation to each other. And in Hawaii, we use a word called kuleana, which I like. It means your personal responsibilities. And so I'm going to end it with that. hope you've found resonated with what I've said, and if so, leave a comment. Maybe you have an idea you could share. Whatever the case may be, let us talk more. And yeah, it's been good. Remember to try to do light work, which involves imagining people smiling, imagining a brilliant white light, sphere of light shining down. It's all about, like, so people can be happy and in your mind, because the mind operates on images of things. And so if you're upset at someone, you imagine them smiling, you imagine brilliant white light, and you can imagine yourself beaming it. You can imagine like an angel flying down, beaming it. Imagine it like, if you've ever seen a welder, they weld really brightly. Just imagine that beam of light just streaming down and shining. Yeah. Well, on a final note, sometimes people have this allure to, like, the idea of royalty. Now, when you remove the elements of territory and assets, that people have, and money, it becomes about how do you behave if you want to be seen and experience royalty, the richest life that's possible. Kidding me. All right, guys.